Hello everybody and welcome back to LMM, and if you're enjoying the kind of stuff that you're seeing on the channel at the moment, how about giving this video a like and maybe subscribing to the channel to help us grow. Now, have you ever been somewhere and seen a vehicle so weird and so unusual that you don't quite believe it exists? Something like this. Yes, that is indeed a motorised orange. Your eyes do not deceive you. Me and Matt saw this when we travelled home and visited the Grampian Transport Museum up in Scotland, with the Outspan orange being parked outside the very front of the museum. And our immediate question as we walked in was, do you think we could have a go in that? And they said, yes.
It's a bit... Now, when we do put our foot on the brakes, we are reminded, of course, of the fact that the original one of this, when they braked suddenly, it rolled over and went for a roll down the road, and we're not really sure how structural the fiberglass is. It certainly is a real honour to be able to have a drive of it, because it's... I mean, how's the best way to describe the seating position here? Terrible. It is almost... it's Formula One. You have to slide inside the monocoque, get your feet into there, you're sat upright. Basically, this is a Formula One car. I'm sat on a seat with the footwell maybe 6 inches, maybe 4 inches lower than me, straight. So I am sat basically like I'm sat on the floor pushing pedals, which means race car.
Let me just stop us here to explain just what we're looking at. It is in fact one of these. Yes, I know, a classic Mini. When you look at the thing in side profile, you go, oh yes, those are definitely Mini wheels. But as the thing trundles past, it doesn't really have any of the other proportions that one takes with a Mini. For instance, the Mini actually is a much longer vehicle, because this, under the fiberglass, is a cut down and shrunk Mini Cooper. Anyway, back to it.
The biggest disappointment, and I understand why they've done it, but the biggest disappointment is the fact that it's automatic. I mean, it just wouldn't work to try and have a clutch in here and try and change gear, especially remounting a gearbox over this side, or trying to drop it down there would just make it far harder to try and get to anything. So I understand why they've done that, but the selector is terribly placed. It's in the wrong place, like underneath my knee, to be able to change what I'm doing, and I don't like that. In terms of everything else, though, like the steering feel, like the way the car steers and handles is actually quite pleasant, and I like that. It's the added extra, the added width of it, and I don't think it is top heavy because there's nothing up here, but it's the size of it makes it feel like it's top heavy. It's it gives a false impression, I think. I don't think it's top heavy, but it feels like it's top heavy, and it does lean quite alarmingly as you go into the bend. The other thing is, it obviously came through in a point where only it was deemed that the driver needed a seatbelt. This is without doubt one of the weirdest looking things that we have ever brought to the channel, including the myriad of weird things that appear in the shed. It's barely what would be recognisable as a car, save for the fact that it has 4 wheels. It's just overly strange, and the concept that this thing was once able to head out on the roads is absolutely mind-blowing, because it's an orange.
And that, of course, is central to this whole thing. Behold the humble orange, a common sight to you or I, but back in the late 60s, South African firm Outspan thought that they were not common enough and embarked on a marketing campaign to hit Europe to encourage people to buy their oranges. Today, you'll be looking at a viral internet campaign or TV advertising, but no, This is what they came up with. And it wasn't just the car or even the fleet of cars, as between 72 and 74, 6 of the things were built. Nope, there was a whole roadshow, complete with the Outspan girls, complete with orange wigs, hanging out oranges and generally doing the promotional thing. By the 80s, the roadshow had somewhat run out of juice, partly because the company had started to invest in TV advertising, and secondly due to the unpleasantries in South Africa at the time. The UK had boycotted it. This wasn't the end, however. The cars were revitalised in the 90s by the new parent company Outspan, and once again headed out to the public, but never to have the same level of fame as they'd had before. 5 still remain, 1 with Outspan themselves, 1 I think with Ed China, and 1 here.
The thing most about this is what it was all about. I mean, as an advertising stunt, driving this around was brilliant. This would have been, I mean, this was a mascot, wasn't it? And I was thinking, we don't really have stuff like this. We've got there is the Red Bull car, but I can't think of anything else off the top of my head that still has like a purpose. But the engineering to make this, and to make something that is actually drivable, is quite amazing. See that many features of the original Mini have reappeared, like the fuel filler cap, lights. Yeah, they reused a fair bit of it.
But my favourite thing about the whole car is this, the orange shaped door handle, which needs this bodge of a key to be able to reach all the way through the orange to the actual lock itself. I think that is just stunningly brilliant.
And this door is amazing.
And it is the singular way of entering and exiting the vehicle, putting some fear into the scenario of being rear-ended. Inside, it really does have to be seen to be believed. There was obviously one specification, and that was orange. It's very orange. It's also exceedingly 70s with the use of carpet on the dash and the additional sofa-like seating which is on both sides, which seems daft as this part is entirely blocked by the driver's seats. The sofas, as mentioned earlier, are completely without a seatbelt, which leads to issues like this.
Slightly easier as I am getting more and more used to it. Are you alright down there? Yep. Why are you down there? I thought you were sitting over there.
Oh, you've changed direction.
Oh, sorry, yes. Well, you know, I'm trying to demonstrate, you know, how well it handles, because you can do a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it just steers where you want it to go.
I'm just safe on the floor. Oh dear.
The effort that they went to here is quite amazing. Most people would be more than happy to have something that looks like an orange from the outside, but to carry on the theme on the inside with all the soft fittings and the internal segments absolutely boggles the mind. The windows are also orange, as was the windscreen originally, but that had to be clear for legality, which seems somewhat laughable looking at the rest of the machine. They also do not open, and on a cold autumnal Scottish day, it is plenty warm enough in here. In the heat of the summer, charging about, it must have been terrible. Apparently, to try and increase the airflow, they would remove the front dash, revealing the standard 4-cylinder 1000cc mini engine in the same position on its subframe as it would have been originally. This allows for more air to enter the cabin, but also the fumes from the engine, and significantly larger amount of noise. So basically it's a no-win situation. The dash is an interesting thing to behold, instantly recognisable are the components recycled from the original Mini, which really have not been positioned for the driver to interact with, and the ones which are close enough to reach have some issues. For instance, I cannot have the choke out and release the handbrake, and the seat, well, getting into that is an adventure in itself.
Raise the seat up like that and kind of fall into the seat, pushing yourself all the way over here into that kind of position, squeezing your legs like that.
It's really not that comfortable once you've managed to wiggle yourself in, and having the steering wheel beyond your left leg and the gear selector for the automatic transmission digging into my right leg, it's just weird. It really feels like the seat is an afterthought, or perhaps originally it was envisioned that it would be in the centre, which frankly would have been much better.
The steering, I just cannot get over how good the steering is. You can go anywhere in it and be like, oh yeah, I've gone the wrong way, I'll just turn it around, and without doing anything go back the way we came. It's amazing. The weirdest thing as well is the change of colour, like looking out here and having an orange world and then going back to a clear windscreen. It's mad. I mean, in terms of everything, this seat is uncomfortable. The seated position is uncomfortable. The fact that I have to have I'm basically doing left foot braking here in order to keep the brake pedal from springing back. Otherwise I've got to bring the foot back here somewhere to try and actually use the brake. So we're constantly kind of rating the brake. The fact that half my controls are totally inaccessible. I have no idea what they're doing. On the other hand, we are driving an orange. Yeah, I never thought I'd get to drive an orange, and I love the just everything about it interior wise. If we had actually tried to adjust the mirrors, we may be able to have some visibility, although I don't think it actually makes much difference at this stage. The visibility, having the side mirrors coming all the way here, I can see pretty well there, and just with the back door, which is the same distance away from the front. It's so weird to be sat in the very middle of a car. I feel like a tank commander. That's probably not the right sensation to get from this, but it's how I feel. I'm right in the middle of the vehicle. Well, apart from being over this side. And I do have this pointless bit of seat here to put my hand on. It's just strange. I would love to see someone come up with something like this again. Why don't people do fun stuff like this anymore? There's so many things you could have a proper little car and get people talking about. Is it that we've become too digital and it's all digital marketing rather than actually having something physical going around now?
My main gripe with the car is this: the windscreen wipers. These were recycled from the original Mini Cooper, and as such were designed to work with a much smaller windscreen. On here, they're just insufficient.
Now, it's quite easy to see that this is quite unusual with this fiberglass pitted surface resembling that of an orange. Up here, it has the little leafy thing, the connection, I don't know what it's called. What's it called where it connects to the tree? The interface with the tree. It's got one of those. But the thing that is weird is, as you can tell from this angle, is from the side on, it's not actually spherical like you would expect from an orange. It's now, the shape's wrong. And that really puts me off and gives it this incredible weird side profile. It's got a weird front profile, but the side's just strange. And I do like this, the way the whole windscreen is made up of 3 windscreens which wrap all the way around.
It has to be one of the most striking cars that I have ever seen, and perhaps one of the strangest to ever grace the roads. It's a real head turner and a smile producer wherever it goes, which includes such places as the Isle of Man TT road course. The cut down wheelbase on this is just 48 inches long. The car itself is almost square, being 7'9" long and 7'6" wide, and the thing weighs just over a ton. To combat the rolling over possibility, concrete was added to the base and the brake bias on the all-round drums was changed to the back. It has a top speed of 70 on a good day, with the wind behind it, downhill. Normally it will top out at 55, but generally it's advised, at least for cornering, to stay below the 30 mark.
It's bonkers. It's bonkers, and I really like it. I really, really like it, because I think it's just mad. But I have no desire to have one. I think it's fantastic, and I'm so happy to have a go driving it. I feel really honoured to get a go driving it. Say one thing though, it doesn't half drink fuel. We had half a tank when we started shooting this video, doing the drive-bys and us talking. We are below quarter of a tank. It is thirsty. And we have done no mileage. We haven't gone anywhere with it.
Truth be told, it doesn't actually handle that differently to a classic automatic Mini. Yes, it's a lot wider, and yes, you feel unsteady in it. But it is, at the end of the day, basically just a Mini.
I am so happy this is around. And I'm enjoying it, but I think by the end of the day, I'll be like, I've done that, I have no need to... Because there's nothing really more I think I can do with it. I mean, it'd be good fun to drive it around town, but I think it would be utterly terrifying. Because we are on our own, We have basically 2 lanes, just move around, nobody else here, so we don't have to keep an eye out for traffic, and it's lovely. This is quite wide because I assume that where I sit here is on the edge of the original, well, I assume the steering column hasn't moved. This leg is now sat outside of the Mini, and all of this is outside the Mini, so it's now, it's basically the same size of a cash car. That's basically it, isn't it? It's the same size as an SUV or a Landy Discovery. That's how wide this is. But I still feel that driving it around town, because of the fact that I'm sat kind of here, but I've got all the space here, and that it would just be a hard thing to position if you're actually having to contend with traffic. And I would definitely need my wing mirrors to do something to have some idea.
And if you want to see the Outspan Orange in the flesh, it is on frequent public display at the Grampian Transport Museum, which is where we headed to next to have a look at the frankly outstanding collection of different vehicles, including trams, steam engines, and a frankly amazing collection of cars, which are the kind of things that we lust after. So a massive great thank you to the Grampian Transport Museum for inviting us along and letting us take out perhaps the weirdest thing I have ever set foot in. If you want more information on the museum itself, the website is in the video description with opening times and special events. And with that, thank you very much for watching. Coming up on the screen now are a couple of videos you might like, including me and Matt's first visit to the museum itself. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time, because we're going to go and have another look round.